cutting the grass. So hopefully my throat will be good to go. All right, a couple housekeeping things to get us headed in the right trajectory. This is a learning live. Go ahead and gather some note-taking materials, pen and paper, pencil and paper, highlighter and paper, Sharpie and paper, electronic devices, whatever you deem necessary in order for you to be able to take notes so that you can learn how to use this amazing organ that you have known as your brain. It's an amazing, amazing organ. Additionally, you're going to need a second device because we will be using the website as well as the YouTube channel. So go ahead and grab that second device right now. You will be on the turnarounddoctor.com, and then you're going to go to the tab for the 74 Principles of Real Leadership. And then once you're there, you will scroll down to the authentic section, and today we are on number 11, Exercise Tact. So gather note-taking materials, second device, go ahead and go to the website, turnarounddoctor.com, as well as the 74 Principles of Real Leadership. You're going to scroll down to the authentic section, and today we will be addressing Exercise Tact. With that being said, I am Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today we will be discussing Exercise Tact, but how did we get here? We got here through neurogenesis. And neurogenesis is the creation of new neurons in your brain. Then we go on to neuroplasticity, which is creating new neural pathways. You take those, combine them together, as well as the theory of personal accountability and the 74 principles of real leadership. And what do you get? You get neuropability. And that is your brain's ability to wire itself to use the 74 principles of real leadership to create unlimited neural pathways so that you can become your best day in and day out. All of this happens in this amazing frontal lobe. We're going to be using the executive function of your brain, which is the CEO of the brain, which means it's in charge and it helps you navigate through your day in and day out. All right, so what I have been doing is I gave an overview of all of the eight different sections of my book, Real Leaders Wear Pink, and that houses all of the 74 principles of real leadership. And now we have been going principle by principle by principle by principle, and today we have landed at Exercise Tact. So I've been defining the words of every word that is located in the principle so that you can understand the principle in its totality. What is the definition of exercise? The definition that I will be using today is this: a process or activity carried out for a specific purpose, especially one concerned with a specified area or skill. A process or activity carried out for a specific purpose, especially one concerned with a specified area or skill. And now the definition of tact. Tact is a keen sense of what to do or say in order to maintain good relations with others or avoid offense. A keen sense of what to do or say in order to maintain good relations with others or avoid offense. Okay, so that is the definition of exercise tact. One moment. Okay, how did we get to exercise tact? I've told this story before. When I was a squad leader in ROTC in high school, Sergeant Morgenstern, who was in charge of the program, told me to go, good morning, Regina, told me to go and look up the word. He called me in, and I was a sergeant at the time. He called me in and he told me, Cadet Thomas, basically go home and look up the definition of tact. So I went home and I looked up the definition of tact because we were having a difference of opinion in my leadership style. So I came back the next day and I said, sir, you're supposed to use tact when yelling at the cadets. And he said, no, that is not the definition of tact at all. You don't use tact when speaking to the cadets. You don't have tact. And all I remember is him saying, hand me those stripes. What? So I got demoted and I got put back in the same squad just to teach me an amazing lesson about tact. So ever since 1988, I have been working on tact. And sometimes I've been successful, sometimes I have not. But now I know when to use it and when not to use it. So I'm definitely doing it on purpose when it appears that I need to be using it. And yesterday was a prime example. Don't start none, won't be none. But tact is definitely a keen sense of what to do or say in order to maintain good relations with others or to avoid offense. And yesterday, I've seen this for the last 3 days, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I kept saying, what's going on? Why are you having issue with this principle? You've gone over it before. You've written blogs about it. So what issue are you taking? What's taking place? So yesterday evening when we got home, because we have to have some paint done on the exterior of the house, I need to get everything done because they could show up between 7 and 9 today. So I had to make sure that I had all the live things done yesterday so I could push my shower forward, do some other things this morning so that if they show up, now they're pressure washing and now they're outside my window and that's going to not sit well with me or bode well with me. Nevertheless, I had everything prepared and I was having difficulty with this part. Why is it difficult to exercise tact? Why do people have an issue with it? Because I was having an issue with it. And so I had one idea, as we can see, hopefully because of the white getting in there, but that's scratched out, and then here's some more information. So I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I was like, well, it's ineffective communication. People are choosing, unaccountable people are unaccountable in, and nothing felt right. And what I learned from the book, How to Be a Billionaire, How Rich People Think, is that sometimes you need to go do a different activity to get clarity. And for me, it's usually take a shower or wash the dishes. Somehow cleaning something, whether it's my own body or some dishes, cleanses everything. And then I have a moment of clarity. So this moment while I was taking my shower, it occurred to me, and it is politically correct. Politically correct is what people think tact is. And that's why people are like, yeah, I ain't doing that. I'm not politically correct. I'm not going to do that. That's some nice shit. That's polite. Ugh. Why would I do that? And even for me, it felt weak. It felt like tact. I don't want to offend nobody. Yeah, sometimes I do. What you mean don't offend people? Sometimes people need to be offended. But it is politically correct. So when I finished the shower and did my morning routine and everything and posted everywhere, I looked up the definition of politically correct. And so politically correct is a term used to describe language, policies, or measures that are intended to avoid offense or disadvantages to members of particular groups in society. So notice, and I'll read it one more time. A term used to describe language, policies, or measures that are intended to avoid offense or disadvantages to members of particular groups in society. So if you notice, in tact, you have avoid offense, and politically correct, you have avoid offense. And that's why people think they're exactly the same. But they are not exactly the same. And in fact, people confuse politically correct with polite. And so what does polite mean? Polite means showing regard for others in manners, speech, and behavior. Showing regard for others in manners, speech, and behavior. So when you think about tact, it feels soft. You talk about, if you ever have a corporate meeting of anything, these are the soft skills. Nobody wants to deal with the soft skills. But that's not what's actually taking place. So politically correct is some bullshit. I said it, and I will continue to say it. It's some bullshit because it's fake as a $3 bill with my face on it. It is fake as hell. You're asking people to be fake so you avoid offense. That's what you're saying. Don't offend anybody. Don't offend that group, and 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 don't offend that group. And it bodes well for the unaccountables, because they're saying, oh, you're not being politically correct. You hurt my feelings. So now it's like, well, we can't say that no more. We can't say that. And it turned into, we can't say that no more. And that's how you don't get to hold people personally accountable. But fuck that, okay? Because I am the queen of, I'm going to find a loophole in a situation. And that's where tact comes in. Nobody wants to be politically correct. Everybody wants to be treated politically correctly. So you have a conundrum. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Then you create cognitive dissonance and all these other things. Because of that, avoid offense. And I thought about it this morning, and I said that avoid offense is like that doggone constructive criticism. Constructive criticism. Would you mind if I give you some constructive criticism? No, you're about to just tear me down and not build me back up. So this avoid offense, that avoid is the problem. It actually is the problem. So what are we going to do, Dr. Donna? Well, we're going to stop being fake. Number one, you got to be real. Real leadership, realistic is you. Your personality is located in your frontal lobe. So avoiding offense is sitting right here. Here we go again, fight, flight, freeze, or appease. That doggone amygdala, almond-shaped little bitty thing causing all kind of problems. I'm not going to offend you. Well, I don't want to offend you. This may sound offensive, but right there with that, can I give you some constructive criticism? Same tone and everything. So everybody wants to be fake and be politically correct. So we don't have to deal with folks' shit. For real, for real. So that is not what tact is. So tact says a keen sense of what to do or say in order to maintain good relations with others or avoid offense. It said or. So the or avoid offense is a moment in time. But tact is to maintain good relationships. Ain't say shit about relationships and politically correct. It's just don't say nothing that's going to offend folks. That group over there and that group over there. So they are not the same. Politically correct, the foundation is not to develop a relationship. It's not to have good relations. It's just so the language, policies, and measures in place are intended not to offend other people. But that's not a relationship. A policy is not a relationship. A language is not a relationship. A measure or procedure is not a relationship. So they are not the same. So that's why people are like, yeah, fuck that. I am being politically correct because there is no connection to it. It's some bullshit that was manufactured so it looks like you're being tactful. You're not. You're being fake. I'm going to be politically correct. And I'm going to say it. Anybody been on the receiving end of politically correctness? It ain't never sit well with you. You ain't never felt it. You just like, yeah, I think you really want to say it. Go ahead. Be who you is. Don't not say it. Or you're trying to find a way to say it politically correctly. No. Is that you're going to offend? Even it's offensive to not say it or say it a different way, but you still meant what you said. So it's a statement, whereas tact is an action. It actually is something that's going to develop long term. So the reason why people don't want to exercise tact is because it's packaged in polite and political correctness, which is not true. Because you are establishing a relationship with people. So you want to engage with people long term. So you're using tact when you are establishing good relations and you don't want to offend a person that you're already in a relationship with, that you're establishing a relationship with. So tact is there for the long term. Tact says, I'm not going to offend you because I have a relationship with you, or I want to have a relationship with you. And politically correctness just says, yeah, we passing through. We're going to throw some shit down there and we don't really give a fuck about you, but we're going to make it seem like we do. So we're going to say the right thing. We're going to make it look like it's the right thing to do when it's actually not the right thing to do. Need to just get rid of the whole concept of political correctness because ain't nobody really doing it right to begin with. And it's just like a Band-Aid on an open sucking chest wound. And it avoids conflict. It avoids things that actually need to be resolved and fixed for good because we're just going to walk around, we're going to be politically correct. We're not going to have that meaning because we're going to offend the women. We're going to offend the ethnic folks. So no, I'm not going to do any of those things. So it's a great way to avoid the shit shows that take places in homes, businesses, and in the rest of the world. We're just going to be politically correct. And even though everything is imploding behind us, we're just going, we're avoiding offense. We are avoiding offense. We're going to put a policy in place to avoid that. We're going to put some measures in place to avoid that. We're going to put some systems in place to avoid that. So it's this big ass avoidance bubble or package. And now you're saying, nope, oh, but we took care of that. Didn't we? Don't we have a policy on that? Yeah, see, so we fixed it. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. So there are two totally different concepts that have been meshed together. And now you're like, well, I'm not going to use tech because I'm not weak. I don't like Brenda. I ain't about to act like I do, so I just ain't going to talk to Brenda. No, you and Brenda need to have a relationship together because y'all work together. Brenda's in sales and you're in sales ops. And in order for whatever y'all selling to get to market, y'all two got to talk to each other. So you're going to exercise tact. You're going to develop a good relationship that is actually real and genuine, and then you're not going to offend each other in that relationship. What questions do you have about the difference between exercising tact and political correctness with a little bit of politeness sprinkled on top of it? Please don't burn my tongue. I took good notes, so I don't have any questions. Got it, Kevin. That's a lot. No questions. What part of it is a lot, Regina? I was trying to condense it. Nola, ask a question. Kevin, ask a question. Since yeah, go ahead. Ask a question. Everybody ask a question. Because Regina's saying that's a lot. So help me understand what part is a lot. Because I thought I simplified it. Good morning, Sabrina. No, it was very clear. Using the different definitions made it clear. So do you okay, let me ask a question, and then while Regina is explaining. And I now understand why I didn't want to have this discussion. And I was just like, I'm irritated. Why am I irritated? I wrote the book. Just shows you how words get mixed up. Exactly. And that's why I say word choice matters, because the words you use have an impact. They, for Christians, death and life is in the power of the tongue. And everything is in the power of the tongue when you're communicating. A lot of info, politically correct, conflicts perhaps with my conceived ideas. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. So you had a perception of, or a concept of, this is what politically correct means. And now I'm saying, no, that's not actually what it is. And we actually don't need it. We actually need to exercise tact if we're going to develop genuine relationships with each other. So tact is relational and politically correct is transactional. Is basically what's happening. That's why it needs to go away. Because tact been around way longer than political correctness. And I even saw, what's interesting is that there aren't a lot of articles about it. And when I said tact, politeness kept coming up. And there was one article that said politically correct is actually the new tact. It was an article from 2016. I was like, absolutely not. Shit, I was talking about tact in 1988, 89. It ain't. We definitely weren't talking about no damn political correctness in the 80s. Did you see TV in the 70s and 80s? Absolutely not. No. There would have been no All in the Family and the Jeffersons. None of that would have been on TV. Good times and none of it. So no. We were not talking about political correctness back then. But yes, the political correctness is to just say and put these systems in place. Tact is about having good relations with people so that you can continue to work together in a cohesive environment. Regina said people spend a lot of time trying to be politically correct and haven't gotten it right yet. That's because it doesn't work. Politically correct was put in place so you would avoid all issues. No, we got to be politically correct. That we can't do that because that's gonna make us. That we wouldn't be politically. That wouldn't be politically correct. So you got HR and the lawyers and everybody there saying can't do that, can't say that, can't do that. Why not? And instead of saying can't say that, how can we address that issue is a bigger thing. And that's where tact comes in to actually have genuine relations with people who are different than you. So that's how you embrace diversity too, is you throw, and that's a neural pathway that needs to be created, is embracing diversity and exercising tact. You throw those two together and handle conflict when it occurs, and you got a nice little real leadership meal right there. Good morning, Lola. You actually do. So tact is a good thing. Politically correct is some bullshit. It really is. And I feel when I say it, it feels right there with constructive criticism. Well, no, that's not politically correct, Dr. Donna. That's not politically correct. Okay, what is? What is politically correct? Because even when you're doing it to whomever this marginalized group of people are, they don't feel like it's correct either. You feel the inauthenticity of it, the fakeness of it, because you're not being genuine. So you need to work through your shit and then develop a genuine relationship and not offend the people that you have a relationship with. That's what it is. But it's a good, nice little transactional thing, a little drive-by that you could use, and then you can just keep it pushing. So politically correct is some nonsense. It's right there with polite. And it's fake. So think fake. When you hear that, just know that those people are being fake. And it feels fake to me. You all may have a different experience under people being politically correct, but it ain't never sat well with me, and I couldn't figure out why until this morning. And now I know that tact is better because I'm going to have a good relationship with you. I'm going to make sure that the situation goes well. It's collaboration at its highest form, and we're not going to have conflict. And because I'm not going to offend you, then there will be no conflict. So I'm going to seek first, and so everybody's clear on that. So how do you exercise tact? Well, number one, you got to be the real you. You got to be you. So you got to be sitting here in your frontal lobe because that's where your actual real personality is, and you're not fake. So amygdala down here, fake, emotional, essential. Basically the emotion center of the brain is in the limbic system, which is located in the temporal lobe, and that's where that happens. Political correct. We don't want to offend nobody. Why would you start out like that? You're already going to offend somebody. So the whole purpose of exercising tact, the foundation, the mudsill of it, is to communicate effectively. When you can communicate effectively, you are going to establish more sustainable relationships with people. I've said this before. One of the top reasons that people get divorced is irreconcilable differences. That means there's been a breakdown in communication. We just can't talk. We went to counseling, went to therapy, went to everything. Now we're on our way to the courthouse because if I stay with this person one more minute, we're going to have some problems. So communicate effectively is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. When you learn how to communicate effectively, you are going to be able to exercise tact. You are going to be able to understand what it is that you need to do or say in order to maintain good relationships with others. What do you need to do or say? Notice political correctness is systems and policies. It doesn't take into account actual people, but then you want to end up being politically correct to people when you ain't even focused on the people. So how does that go? Do or say the things that you need in order to maintain good relations. In order to do that, you have to be able to communicate effectively, which is why I say read 15 minutes or more every single day of nonfiction, because you're going to expand your vocabulary or your personal lexicon. You're going to take this amazing brain, and your working memory is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then no matter what type of situation that you are placed in, you're going to be able to exercise tact. Even at Nola's appointments, I'm still using tact to understand, okay, this is the type of house we're in. This is the type of culture that we're experiencing. How do we communicate effectively to get the work done that we need to get done? In the event, should we choose to let this client be a repeat client, That's the foundation, that initial meeting, and that's why it's important to communicate effectively. The next thing is, unlike political correctness, seek first to understand and then be understood. This is a method that I extrapolated from Frito-Lay many, many moons ago, and it is help me understand. So you start asking questions and not the fuck you talking about. That's not tact. That's not, you're not seeking to understand. That's a hijacked amygdala on the way to fight. Help me understand what's taking place. Help me understand your thought process. Help me understand this from your perspective. That's all you're doing. I just want to understand. So you're going to have a nice little calm, peaceful tone. Help me understand what the fuck is wrong with you. Nope, that's not it. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's going to cause problems. That's not tact, and that's going to be whack. Okay, so don't do that. So you seek first to understand and then be understood. So you say, okay, I got it, I understand. You ask follow-up questions, and then you say, okay, well, here's what's happening from my perspective. And now that's where that relationship starts to get built. And you're both being honest, or all the people involved are being honest, which is another one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And then if there happens to be a conflict, you handle conflict when it occurs. The objective of handling conflict is to collaborate and strive for win-win. So now you actually have this relationship. So I say conflict and anger just means that something needs to change. There's a problem somewhere. So because you are establishing tact, you are exercising tact, you are going to sit down and understand what's taking place with all the parties involved. And then you're going to have a strategy and do something about it so it doesn't occur again. And if it does, implement the strategy. Next, active listening. When you are talking or communicating with other people, you got to listen. That's why I said there twice. As a principle of real leadership, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen double the amount of times that you are speaking. So actually listen. Don't say, because if you had a hijacked amygdala, you just waiting on your turn to get in and start the argument. Not going to work. Stay out of this temporal lobe. Come over here to the frontal lobe and just listen. Take notes. If you ask the person, do you mind if I take notes? Because I want to capture everything that you're saying so I can get it right. Write it down, go back and say, well, this is what I have. Is this what you mean? So now you are communicating effectively, and ask clarifying questions. That's what's actually going to help you as well. Someone starts speaking, you're taking notes, and then you ask questions. Now, is this what you said? Is this what you meant when you said? Now, is this what you meant? Oh, but no, but see, I got it. I got the receipts today. I'm about to tell you what you said. No. Not taking notes for that. That's ill intentions, and that's going to cause a problem. I'm seeking to understand, so let me listen and take effective notes and then ask clarifying questions. And the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to respond instead of reacting. Responding is, okay, I understand your perspective. Here's my perspective. Reaction is, oh, so that's what you thought? Well, let me tell you about your raggedy ass, since you over here trying to tell me about me. That's reacting, okay? If the voice elevates, you are reacting. Responding is in the same tone that the original conversation or interaction, the things that you are saying are in the same original tone. That's how you know you're reacting, because you are in the frontal lobe. If your heart starts beating, you start sweating, and now your amygdala is on its way to getting hijacked, you are reacting. So stop, take a break, and come back. And then choose empathy. When you are seeking to understand, you are choosing empathy. You are saying, if I was in a similar situation, how would I be responding right now? What would be taking place for me? Because that's empathy. Sympathy is, oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. But empathy is, let me put your situation on for a second. Now, okay, got it. Makes perfect sense. That's what you're doing. You're choosing empathy. Then you're going to look for collaborative solutions. And that's what I said. When there's conflict occurring, strive for win-win. Always strive for win-win. Do not compromise, because if you compromise, somebody's leaving that situation. You're going to compromise and be trying to be politically correct, and someone's going to leave pissed off. Yes, truth. I can't help it. Even if I have a written script, my emotion comes out. I have been practicing in my mirror to keep my facial expressions and my tone the same. And I'm going to respond to your email later today, Sabrina. I had to send off some other stuff before I left to make sure that I got it done before these painters come to the house. So yes, so what's happening for you is your amygdala is getting hijacked. And once you do that, I don't know if you're driving or not, but you shut off the access to the frontal lobe. And now the amygdala is fight or flight. Fight, flight, freeze, or appease. I'm coming. you're going to have some of these, right? So you want to stay in your frontal lobe. But what's happening for you is it's in the executive function of the brain. And I'm going to send this to you too so you can have it in black and white so you can see it. But it's called inhibition control. So inside of your executive function, you have your working memory, your what is it? Cognitive flexibility. I was about to say conformity bias. Cognitive flexibility and your inhibition control. Inhibition control stops you from doing insane things that you're going to regret. But when you're in your hijacked amygdala, you don't give a fuck. You're going to say what comes up, comes out. So that's what's taking place. So you want to look for collaborative solutions so everybody can win, okay? And it's possible. And then you want to solicit feedback. And remember, solicit feedback is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. You are not looking for destructive criticism because there's nothing constructive about criticism. Look up criticism. It's a negative word. You can't construct it. You can't flip it or anything. You are looking for feedback because it's the positive, negative, positive. And it's going to, feedback is for your performance or the behavior. Criticism is an attack on you personally. So solicit feedback in the event that when you're having these conversations with people, developing these relationships, you're asking for ways to improve your behavior or your performance. Next is be objective and gather facts. We know be objective is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And in that process, you are gathering facts, especially when it comes to decision making. You want to make the best decision that is rational so that when you execute whatever is coming out of that decision, that strategy, it actually is going to be focused on becoming best. Treat everyone fairly. Be fair. We've just reviewed that. Everyone deserves to be treated fairly as a human being. That is also the objective. When you're being politically correct, you're not treating people fairly. And it's almost like a superiority. I think, yeah, that's what it is. Political correctness is a superiority complex. So, I'm going to be politically correct. Like you're choosing because you're superior than this inferior group. So you're not going to identify it as what you think it is. So now you're highfalutin. I'm going to be politically correct. It's right up there with self-righteousness, which is bad if you are attending any 12-step programs. So you want to treat everyone fairly. And then you want to establish and maintain trust. When you're exercising tact, the goal is to have a good relationship. And the goal and the foundation for any relationship is trust. That's why establish trust and be trustworthy is also one of the 74 principles of real leadership because it's real, it's genuine. And from there, you're going to be honest. I trust you, so I'm going to be honest with you. And it's going to bode well for everybody involved. You want to treat people with dignity and respect. If you don't, and I'm now feeling that political correctness is not treating people with dignity and respect. It's literally belittling people. It's making people feel inferior. Well, I'm not going to say that about your group. I'm not going to do that. We're going to put policies in place so don't nobody bother y'all because we know y'all inferior. So it's not treating people with dignity and respect. Exercising tact is because I want to have a relationship with you. So I'm going to treat you with dignity and respect because I plan on being here for a while. Reprimand privately. In the event that something does take place, reprimand privately. When I was in the Army, I had the worst platoon in the company, and Captain Lexi Gaylord called a company formation and embarrassed the dog shit out of the entire platoon and told everybody we were the worst platoon in the company. And I had just gotten there and taken over from Lieutenant Yamaguchi. And I said, well, did you have a formation when he was here? Because I still got jet lag. How I'm trying to get used to being 15 hours ahead. I got it. I see why it's now the worst platoon in the company. Roger that. Thank goodness that the Army kicked him out 10 years in and didn't promote him to major because he was a horrible person. But he saw fit to embarrass myself as a junior lieutenant and my entire platoon in front of the whole company. And then our motto was first platoon, second to none. So we went from worst to first. I got a top block when I left Korea, and it was the best platoon in the doggone battalion. So whoop, there it is. As I used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you. Shout out to Lexi Gaylord. Okay. Reprimand privately. So do it privately. Do it privately. All right, Sabrina. I don't trust some of my staff. I treat with dignity and respect, and they lash out and ended up in a writing them up from me and moving their office. That's awesome. I love that. And what I would do is and this is just a recommendation. When I was in the basic training, we would have, they called them bitch sessions, and not because we were women, but because we were bitching about the things that were taking place. And we would just do it on a Sunday after, because we had Sundays off later in the cycle. And we would just sit and be able to say what we needed to say. So sometimes you just need to say what you need to say. Obviously, you get to clear our list with HR, but sometimes what we think is actually happening isn't actually happening. So you have to remember that people have confirmation bias, cognitive conformity bias, and negativity bias cause people to just do and say things just from mere programming. So when you have that open forum, that open dialogue that people can speak about, it brings everything to the surface, and it's not because people are repressing it and holding it down. You can even have the meeting and people just write down things and fold it up, or you can have everybody type it up, and so it's all in the same font so you don't know who it is. Fold it up on a piece of paper, put it in a hat or a bowl, and just pick it out, and then just discuss the issues. And that will give people anonymity, but it will also bring everything to the forefront. And that you just have to be willing to hear what you hear. So even as people, when they decide that they won't be holding themselves personally accountable anymore or doing any challenges, one of the questions that I send in their exit survey is what needs to be improved. So, and then that question is there for people to say whatever. Sometimes people take it as a moment to personally attack me, and that's okay too, because I stay in my frontal lobe for the most part. But it's whatever I can do to improve this process for people to become their best. So you got to be ready to hear whatever it is that you hear. So if you want to read the stuff ahead of time so you know what's in there, then that's good to go as well. The last two are provide coaching. So everybody has the ability to be coached if you're willing, but when you are in charge or responsible, it is your responsibility to provide effective coaching. And the most important one that is basically a bookend, we started with communication, communicating effectively, is be honest. You cannot exercise tact genuinely and respectfully if you are not going to be honest. And I present myself as honest as I possibly can day in and day out, so you know what honesty actually looks like. Because right now we have a lot of people in positions of power and authority, and they're not leaders, they're not honest, they're not trustworthy. And so we haven't had it in so long, you kind of miss what it looks like because it's been this way for so long. You don't even remember what it used to feel like when you actually saw a leader who was actually leading and actually doing the job of what a leader is. But most importantly, as you're the CEO of Me Incorporated, what also can take place is when you look in the mirror, you see an honest, trustworthy leader because you are the CEO of Me Incorporated. So what questions do you have as we move into our cognitive fitness activities for the day? What questions do you have about tact? What's happening here with my tablet? Okay, got to go back in there. What questions do you have about tact? And so you actually do need to have a question. I'm being politically correct and saying, what questions do you have? So I'm basically saying, ask me a question. Ask me a question, y'all, about tact, because I'm an expert. Now, what? If you looked up tact in the dictionary online, it'll be a picture of me like this. Hey, this is what tact looks like. Yes, I understood what you said, Sabrina, about the platoon story. Yeah, people say I didn't deploy. I did. It was a 5.5 years of a deployment. And I have the PTSD to prove it. So everybody asks a question. Lola, I know you're most likely working. Do do do. I'm loving it. I don't know why I sing the McDonald's song. We do not eat McDonald's. And I don't even see the commercial because we don't have television. And they don't show those online on streaming. Not on the platforms I'm on. Pregunta del día. Questions for the day. Is being tactful helpful with your time efficiency? No. When you learn how to be tactful, when you're exercising tact, it's going to take time. It's actually going to take more time to establish the neural pathway. Once you learn how to do it, then it will. But the upfront time expense is going to take more time. And then once that neural pathway has been wired, then you'll do it automatically because you'll reinforce it. So work on it every day, and then there will be less effort. So it's like if you've never gone to the gym before and you decide you're going to start doing weights, and you start with a 15-pound weight, it's going to feel heavy initially. And you might only be able to do 10 reps per arm. You might not be able to do 3 sets of 12. But the more you keep doing it, next thing you know, you'll be throwing up them 30s and being able to do that. So yes, initially, because it's a muscle, it's a pathway. So the brain up here, working memory, it's going to take effort in your frontal lobe to get it going. But then it's going to be smooth like butter after that. All right. Please let me know if I've answered your question, Sabrina. Regina, tact reminds me of doing a dance. How do you exercise tact when the other is emotional and not listening? You cannot. Okay. That's the there's the rub, right? Shakespeare. So what happens is when you are dealing with an unaccountable, you are not going to be able to fully, completely exercise tact. At that point, what you can do is treat people with dignity and respect to the best of your ability. And then if you can't, you can go ghetto-lectual like I did yesterday on the live. And it's impossible. And I know Cam makes the impossible possible until you're dealing with someone who is unaccountable, because they are going to have a hijacked amygdala. So the best that you can hope for is to start planting personal accountability seeds. Now, what you can do is seek first to understand why that conflict is there. Why are they having the emotions that they are having? So at that point, because you can't, when someone is emotional, they can't hear you because they're over here having a hijacked amygdala party. So calming, remember we talked about this, calming the situation down and then talking to the person calmly. But in their high emotional state, it's not going to work. You're going to have to start addressing things when they're calm, when they're in their frontal lobe. But don't try to do it while they're emotional, because they have that hijacked amygdala, shut off the frontal lobe. All logic and reasoning is gone out the window. So calm the situation down, seek first to understand, then be understood. Attempt to have some empathy depending on who the person is. Like if it's my sister, that's just part of her personality. But if you can have empathy, wait till the situation is over and then circle back using that free information that they're going to give you as you're asking them about how they feel. So remember with the feelings PDF, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling? What am I going to do about it? Calming the person down. And you're just planting and watering seeds. So these things take time. If you think about negativity bias, it's been around since the beginning of time. So the things that I am taking as I talk to Sabrina about developing your exercise tact neural pathway, it's going to take time because other unaccountable people aren't even exposed to personal accountability. And people with negativity bias, Regina, are literally, they can't even hear the positive things that are being said because they're waking up looking for the negative thing to confirm what they're already doing. So that's why I won't say can't, because can makes the impossible possible. It's just going to take time because neurologically their brain isn't even wired to hear what you're saying. So the suggestions that I have again is seek first to understand, then be understood. Ask questions, listen, calm down the situation when a person is emotional, and at a later time in the future say, I'd like to meet with you and let's just discuss a couple things now. And you can say, remember the situation that happened on Tuesday, just want to follow back up so that we can resolve it. So start small with, we just want to resolve what happened on Tuesday. And then you'll be able to work your way up. So just go use the principles of real leadership, treat people with dignity, respect, ask questions, listen, and then seek first to understand and then be understood. Please let me know if I've answered your question, Regina. All right. Kevin, what came after active listening? Ask clarifying and effective questions. Ask clarifying and effective questions. And then Sabrina, you say yes. So 6 months to a year is a practical time frame. I would say yes. And you have to remember, not have to, but please remember that unaccountable people's brains are wired for negativity bias, hardwired. And you have 12,000 to 60 thoughts a day. 90% of those thoughts are of yesterday, and 85 to 90% of those thoughts are negative. So you're speaking to someone who doesn't speak personal accountability, and you're speaking to someone who doesn't have the neural pathways that you are currently developing. So it's going to take time. But go slow to go fast. All right, Nola. What if there is an instance that you don't want to use tact, you want to use the intensity on them? So yesterday, my pleasure, Regina. So yesterday is a perfect example of me going ghetto lectual. That's what we call that, because I knew what I was doing. And I went, and if you notice the response to those two people, one person, as Kevin said, I said, I can smell a punk through the internet. And then Regina liked, I will bitch slap you. I did that on purpose because of what that person said initially. I'm not repeating it on live. It doesn't deserve being repeated. So there are instances when people are trying to hijack your amygdala. And when you know that someone is purposely hijacking your amygdala, you stay in your frontal lobe and you use your logic and reason to then hijack their amygdala, because that's what I said with the second person. I'm getting ready to hijack your amygdala. And then that person went on to tell me how their computer was configured and everything else, because I talked about black hats and hackers and what they have the ability to do. And so then that person's amygdala was hijacked. So you flip the script. You stay in your frontal lobe. They don't get what they want because they're looking for a dopamine boost, and you don't give that to them at all. You give them a shot of reality and call it a day. So there are times when you cannot do anything other than sit them down. And so when their amygdala is hijacked, fight, flight, freeze, or appease, your objective is for them to flight and get out of the situation. That's what's happening. So I specifically chose yesterday to address both of those. Today we had two people coming in with that high shit, and what we're talking about, I removed them and didn't even address them and kept it moving. So you can tell what will happen is you can start feeling when someone is looking to hijack your amygdala, and you have every right to shoot, put your boundaries up, and secure your perimeter, and do not allow an infiltrator in. And if you all recall yesterday, I called them an infiltrator. I called them an infiltrator several times, and people don't like being, and I didn't call them an intruder. I called them an infiltrator. Coming, trying to be in stealth mode because you want to do some shit. You're trying to fuck something up over here, and that's not going to happen. So you get what you get at that point. That's why The Art of War is my favorite book, because it is the element of surprise. That person thought one thing, and then they FO'd and FAFO'd and had a different experience completely. Okay. I believe that I have answered. Nola, let me know if I've answered your question. At this time, go ahead and use your second device. You're going to go to social media, and you're going to go to YouTube. And you're going to go to the, what playlist? Okay, yes. So we're on the same playlist as yesterday, and you're going to go to the fourth video. It just says complete this sentence. And I realized that yesterday with the upload that we didn't put the title in. Once it's in there, you can't go back and edit it from your app. You have to go in and log in. And we all know I don't like using the websites other than my own. So you're going to go to turnarounddoctor.com and social media tab, YouTube. Complete this sentence is the first playlist available to you. It's right under the live that's telling us that we're currently live. And you're going to be looking at the fourth video. It is white with black semi-cursive writing, and the title is Complete This Sentence. It wouldn't show it to you yesterday because because Dr. Donna went off. I can send you a link. I can unlist it, but I went off, and so I was like, I don't know if that needs to be a part of it, because for the first 20 minutes, I was ghetto lectual. But if you want me to send it to you, I can send it to you. So I'm going to make a post-it. I'll make it unlisted and then send you the link. No, you don't want me to send it to you? Okay. Okay. It still was a good live on the back half, but it's a lot of work that you would have to do. Not necessary that you need to watch it, but that's what happened. Okay. Go to complete this sentence, and it is the one that says complete this sentence. And Nola, yes, thank you for letting me know I answered your question. It's the one with the white background and the black cursive writing. So go ahead and watch it, and then complete this sentence from your perspective. So it is you putting yourself as the I. And while y'all are doing that, I'm going to put this current live in the playlist. Boy, these are dirty. Man, what is that? Regina, wouldn't it be great if I could freely travel and experience new cultures, people, food? Yes. You know what I think is interesting is that there are a lot of fellowships and grants for young people to travel abroad. You might want to explore if that option is available for you as a senior citizen. Ah, my nose. I cut the grass. Do I need to update? Yes. Kevin, wouldn't it be great if I had an assistant that would handle the workload and allow me to sleep more? If you happen to have that, Nolan and I just had this conversation. We left a client's house. I'm not a fan of the client, but they're 5-star client for Nola, so I go over there. I don't like the energy. And the mother has made the daughter her assistant. And it didn't sit well with me. I couldn't figure out why. And then Nola said, "You made me your executive administrator when I was in middle school and high school." So she was my intern, I think, in 6th grade. And then I gave her a better title in 7th grade. So she became my executive administrator. And the reason why I'm saying word choice matters is because assistant, yes, you need to be assisted, but what does that person feel like being in it? That's my assistant. Oh, just give that to my assistant. And so I say, where's my assistant? I have several assistants. But if you give them the title of executive administrator, because that's what you're saying, you want them to handle the workload, that's 2 levels up. And it allows that person to grow into that position. And so when Nola became 16 and she set up her LinkedIn, she already had all of that information so that that would be able to assist her in the world when she was initially going to enter into the workforce. So just, you do need support, and then you can have that person have higher duties, because assistants go get coffee and they go take the pet and pick up laundry and drop off dry cleaning and things like that, and make sure the people at your house, if you have work at the home, and the Zamboni people. But executive administrators are now responsible for making bigger decisions. And it just, I'm an executive administrator for Kevin Hook, and now it just gives them the ability to grow into that position. Just a suggestion, because we just had that conversation yesterday. Nola, wouldn't it be great if you could be as tall as you wanted? Yes, says the 5'2" person. Okay, finally, we're going to come to a close. What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself today? What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself today? And what I learned today is I don't like politically correct. I don't, and now I know why. I never liked the term. Couldn't figure out why it wasn't sitting well with me, and now I know. So I learned about political correctness, and then I learned why I never liked the term. Ouch. And Sabrina, I don't think I saw your answer on the complete this sentence. Pardon me. Allergies. Nola, I learned tact, politically correct, and polite has similar definitions. Never thought those words had anything in common. Kevin, today, tact is for long-term relationships. Regina, being tactful requires staying in your frontal lobe and waiting to develop a relationships with the other. I left later driving to work now, but will do at lunchtime. Okay, got it. Thank you for letting me know. I thought you might be off today. Yes, Friday. Oh, wow, I've been thinking for like the last 2 days it's Saturday. It's been feeling like a Saturday. And then, what did you learn about yourself? And the reason why these two questions are necessary is so that you can start to wire your brain to wake up, knowing that you need to be learning something, looking for the learning, and then assessing yourself, self-reflection time, so that you can learn about yourself. Not something that we were taught at any point in school. And the other thing that I've learned about myself, as I have said, I'm introducing myself and through my lineage, is that it is difficult saying those names, because my mama hated my daddy, so she never talked about him. She had a tumultuous relationship with my grandfather, and nobody talked about Levi. So it's very foreign to me to say that. So I'm practicing it and saying it, and it's sounding like a question at times, and just very interesting how not passing down, you came from good stock in that bloodline to say, and how I had to just dig and find, and I'm 5 out of 8 on that, and I don't like that, and we'll only get the 6 out of 6, 6 out of 8, because no one kept record of that. That kind of angers me to a certain extent, that you can't have that to say, to introduce yourself. And don't worry, not that's at your elbow, right? This has nothing to do with you. But I will get there. It's the equivalent to me starting a new playlist. To be able to say this, because, I mean, quite frankly, people don't even introduce themselves like that anymore. You introduce yourself and you basically stop. You might say, I have a spouse, some children, and this is what I do for a living. But that bloodline introduction is different. It hits different. And the other thing is, I would have been a Thomas anyway, because my mother's mother was a Thomas, and then my father is a Thomas. So my sister and I are double Thomases. We are the only ones who are that way. So Levi Thomas is actually my grandmother's father. And then William Thomas is my father's father, or my grandfather. Okay. Kevin, myself, I like using ring lights. I can feel masculine while using them. Laugh out loud. Got it. I don't use a ring light. I use two different lights, because the ring light is right in my face, and so I don't like it light shining right. So one is offset. So I have, like, the lights are catacorner to me for my lighting. Regina said, I learned that I have a level of tactfulness, but need to continue developing the skills, especially asking questions of the other in order to understand and be more empathetic. All right. And Nola said, I learned I didn't like exercising tact because it seemed soft. Yes. And that was the thing for me as well. And coming back to it, because I was like, this seems mealy mouth. How in the world am I about to say this again? Like, exercise tact, be nice, you gotta be kind, and all of that. So the good news is, I will say that in my book, and Regina has the book, Nola has the book, Kevin's gonna order the book, and because you read more anyway, is that providing coaching means that you get information too. So there is this exchange. Every time I give you all information, it comes to me, you give me information. And so there is this, what I feel is an even exchange and an even interaction. The Science of Getting Rich says, give more of value than what people are paying for. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And that's how we were designed in the first place, is to be able to learn, develop, and grow. Take what we need from each other, or gather it, so that we can use it to become our best. That's what we were born to do. And then leave a legacy, a personal legacy, if you will, to plant trees for which shade we will never sit. That's what we came here to do. And then negativity bias has taken over. And so we have 6.8 billion saber-toothed tigers coming after us, trying to hijack our amygdala consistently and continuously throughout the day. But we are bigger than that. We have the ability to use this amazing organ. It's called the brain, and it's plastic. And through Neuropability, you have... No, it's not on Audible, Sabrina. You will have to get it. I thought about doing that, and then it just, because it's like a reference guide. So you really just need to have it, because it's not like, you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can read a section at a time. So the point that I'm making is, and I know you're driving, so that's why I wanted to answer your question before you get out the vehicle, is this: your brain is the most amazing organ that you have. You choose every day to wake up and use it how you see fit. And currently you are wiring it so that it can be the best organ in your body, because that's what it was designed to do. You have the ability to have access to whatever you want. Kevin, if you want an assistant, go ahead and get an assistant. Regina, if you want to travel the world, travel the world. Sabrina, if you want your team to operate like an actual team, you can do that. Nola, you want to change how athletes are recruited and what they do beyond being a professional athlete. All of that is possible. 6.8 billion people can actually become personally accountable before I check out. It's possible, but your brain needs to be wired to those possibilities and those capabilities, and it happens one neuron at a time, one neural pathway at a time, and you just have to keep reinforcing those neural pathways to neuropability to get to the 74 principles of real leadership and beyond. You have the ability to do it. You have the neurological ability to make it happen, because it starts here. It starts up here in your frontal lobe. That's where it starts and where it stays. Do not allow unaccountable people to hijack your amygdala, cut off access to your frontal lobe so you can't be your best. Negativity bias doesn't have to win. It can actually be pruned and never be a neural pathway again for generations to come. That's the objective of this every single day. It's the reason why I'm happy when I wake up. Oh, now we're back to highlights. I tell you. Figure it out, YouTube. Now we're back to highlights. Every day. Even when it seems like it's not working. Even when I have people like I had on a live yesterday. Doesn't matter. I understand what's taking place neurologically. And here shortly, I'm going to be able to just see people's brains and not, you know what I'm saying, understand their behaviors and actions based upon it's a neural pathway that is either wired or needs to be pruned. So you all thank yourself for taking the time today to work on you, to create more neural pathways in your brain, to wire your brain to become your best, because you deserve your best of you every single day. I, God willing, higher power, and the universe will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same face, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a fantastic Friday.